Now, you've said before that I guess if life would have been different and you would have taken that offer to join Guns N' Roses, that you'd be dead. That's a really profound statement, it seems. What, looking back, I guess, what are the differences you see between the Crows and Guns N' Roses that made that difference in your life?
Well, I think I just resonated more musically with the Crows. I would have been less connected to anything important with Guns N' Roses and more inundated with crazy and money and drugs. So I know what would have happened. I would have been miserable and stoned and dead.
When you think of the Southern Harmony and Musical Companion, what's the first thing that you think of?
That's something you can stand up straight and hang your jacket on. You know what I mean? Like that's a solid record. Yeah. It was done by a bunch of people hungry and ready to make the greatest record they could make, and it was just a good timing, and we caught lightning in a bottle, I think, on that one. You know, it's a great record.
Well, it went double platinum. It defined pretty much a generation of music in many ways. What was the aura in the studio while you guys were recording it? I mean, did any of you feel like what you were recording was about to change all your lives in that way?
In our mind, everything we did was changing our lives every day. We were arrogant and young and drunk. You know what I mean? Like, and even if we didn't believe it fully, we sure acted like it, you know, and, you know, act as if, and we all were going for it hard, and we were only in there recording for 2 days. And I mean, it was done except for some overdubs. So I remember a couple days in the garage, literally knocking out some shapes of some songs that weren't fully done. And we went in and finished them and recorded them.
It's got so many great tracks on it. Did you guys have a hunch that Remedy was going to be the most popular one, or did you guys kind of have a feeling that maybe there was another one that you guys liked more, or thought had more different potential?
They probably had a better idea of what was going on. Chris and Rich and the producers had one relationship, and us on the outside had another understanding.
So when you think back to those early tours off the back of Southern Harmony, are there any like really special kind of memories that stick out to you, or any maybe venue or crowd that made a long-lasting impression on you, or does it all start to blur together after a little bit?
Well, there are highlights. You know, there's the Pink Pops, and there's the Rios, and there's the, you know, the first tour was going to Japan, and, you know, there's a lot of amazing times. Yeah, they do blend a little. I mean, it was a little while ago now.
Now, when we started talking earlier in the interview, you said about how Jimi Hendrix kind of had that influence and how that's kind of what you wanted to be. And then there are people who have said for years now that Chris Robinson and you were kind of the guitar duo of the 90s, kind of helping to define what it meant to be a guitarist at the time. Do you realize how kind of special that sound is, and did you kind of realize it at the time? Because I mean, it seems like in some ways you then became a person who started influencing, you know, other people and younger generations.
I mean, you know, you hope, I guess, maybe sort of, that you get to be in the tradition of people that pass this thing on. We had to believe that we were worthy, or we shouldn't have been there. Whether or not we were going to do it or not, that's for time to decide. And I think that, yeah, it's really cool that Rich and I developed a sound together. And the only way that sound happens is when we play it together. You know, it's really, that's something.
And years after that, you come together with Rich Robinson to form the Magpie Salute Band. What was it kind of like getting back? Was it the same kind of thing? Was it like just getting back and riding a bike? You know what I mean? Like after you hadn't ridden for a while, being able to.
Yeah, a lot of it is because we, like you said, you know, we forged something, and there's a lot of muscle memory built into that. And I play my guitar a certain way when I play with Rich.
You know, you mentioned earlier producers, because we were talking about how, it wasn't you weren't recognizing maybe it in real time because it was happening so quickly, but maybe the producers spotted it. And I know that for many of your own records, you wanted to use the studio kind of in the old way, the way that it was when you first started, like very analog. What do you think is gained by an artist doing that?
Well, I don't think it's the analog or digital so much. It's the what analog forced you to do, and the lack of tracks and the lack of choices, was force you to make decisions and do the pre-work and decide and then perform it together. That's anybody can do amazing things one on top of each other, but the magic only happens when people are doing it together, and it's this response thing, and then you have music. Otherwise you have songs, to me. And so I just tend to like to get as many people in the room as you can, to get it started. And if all of them are there, cool, and make the decisions beforehand and count and go.
Well, listening to you talk about the true studio experience, you've said before that, I guess you said there's always tension. Can you walk us through kind of what you mean by that? I mean, does that tension in the studio benefit?
And it can really hinder it. It's all in your head, like as a producer, I want to get the artist as comfortable as possible. So that's not in his head, that, let all of the weird stuff that's pointing at you and all the microphones and all the what and the waiting and the hurry and the stop, and then we'll do it a little different. And there's all that going on. So you want to take as much of that away from them as possible.
How do you pick a studio and producer to record with? And does it change based on the particular type of project because certain people have certain sounds and maybe you want a certain sound? Or do you consistently feel like one, like you said, an opinion that you trust is one you can trust regardless of the project?
To know that when I ask the guy's opinion, that I like his opinions. I need that at least. He doesn't really need to know the technical side of anything, but he needs to get what I'm trying to do and know when I'm at my best and when I'm schlocking it, or when it's better to leave that mistake because overall it was a beautiful moment. Like I'm looking for someone who is getting the vision and the communication across, not anything else.
Is there a song either by a band that you were in, or even some cover, that gives you the absolute most joy to play as a guitarist?
The new one. Essentially, some are more fun to play than others, but the new thing, or the way that song shows up today, is why I'm in it. You can't count on a song because a song may not show up very well one day, but another song turns out to be gives you all kinds of information you didn't even know was there.
So Marc, you're still, really active in the music world, still touring, still creating. What is next up on your calendar, and where can our audience go to get updated on what you're doing?
Well, the regular places, I guess, my website, and everything's sort of in a transition right now, but I'll probably be making a record here soon, and then in the new year, and then and going out and playing it,
Well, Marc, I really, really appreciate you being on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Marc Ford.
Thank you.